of Commons.
That's perfectly possible. For that to be the case, a self-denying ordinance is required on the part of people who otherwise wish to raise points of order with me. But I note what the honourable gentleman has said, and colleagues either will be guided by him or not, as the case may be. Point of order, Dr. Sarah Wollaston.
Mr. Speaker, could I make a helpful suggestion that you send a photocopy of Erskine May to members of the government? But on a more serious point, well, it's true. That the government keeps insisting that members of this House should have the opportunity to change their mind. Isn't it time they extended the same courtesy to the British people?
Well, I note what the honourable lady has said. The second point is a political one, to which I won't respond. In relation to Erskine May, it is available free online. In relation to the same question convention, I simply make the point that when I pronounced on the same question convention on the 18th of March, one of the early responses came from an honourable member who said, "May I say how delighted I am that you have decided to follow precedent, which is something I am greatly in favour of," and he went on to make other supporting points. The person who responded in that way was none other than the right honourable gentleman, the member for North East Somerset, the leader of the House. So the leader of the House was very much with me at that time on the same question convention. I take the same view 7 months later, and it is for him to explain whether he does. Point of order, Sir Desmond Swade.
However unfashionable it might be, Mr. Speaker, I believe you're quite right. And by the same token, it's quite wrong to expect the voters to have to answer the same question a second time.
Look, I've known the right honourable gentleman member for New Forest West for 22 years. I like him so much that I don't want to ruin a burgeoning political career, as he's only probably a quarter of the way through his. But one of the great merits of the right honourable gentleman member for New Forest West is that he is a model of consistency, principle and fair-mindedness. Point of order, Sir Robert Sims.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. The meaningful vote process was a process which Parliament insisted that the government adhere to. And all the government are trying to do is to stick to a process set out by Parliament. And clearly, on Saturday, things were amended. Now we can have a clean vote, because I think there is an appetite among the country, if not this Parliament. I mean, they're not exactly empty benches here to try and get a view on what the Prime Minister's deal is about. The fact of the matter is, I agree with Sir Desmond Swayne. I think your ruling is probably right, except that we are prone, unlike most of Erskine May, to the EU Constitution. And the EU Constitution means at the moment we leave at the end of this month, which means there's limited time. So we're going to be treated to the spectacle of empty benches in this House as we go home at some point, and maybe sitting late or sitting at weekends in order to try and get government legislation on the statute book. And I'm not sure the British people will understand that.
Well, just say to the honourable gentleman, and I genuinely apologise to him if I have misunderstood any part of his point, but I am reacting on the hoof. Whether there were the debate today or not, the government requires the passage of the requisite legislation. Therefore, insofar as the right honourable gentleman is concerned about the time required for the legislation, the programme motion for it, the sitting hours entailed by it, the inconvenience that might flow from it, those considerations would apply whether we had the debate today or not. The issue is, do we make a pragmatic judgment and allow for the breach of a long-standing convention, or do we make a principled judgment? And I have made a principled judgment, and there is every opportunity for the government, with the support of the House, not only to have its say, but to get its way by the end of October. And I don't think I need to add anything to that. It is dependent on parliamentary opinion. I will come to the honourable lady.